Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to do a role-playing game review for you. This is another adventure for the Pathfinder setting, though the company that publishes this, Frog God Games, does publish it for their Swords and Wizardry, kind of old-school D&D process as well. And the book that I'm going to be showing you is called The Stoneheart Valley. Now, if you've watched my other role-playing game reviews, I've been doing, well, mostly stuff from Frog God Games, so that's going to change very soon. I got a couple of upcoming ones for some other game systems. But this is a combination of 3 old Necromancer Games modules called The Wizard's Amulet, The Crucible of Freya, and The Tomb of Abyssthor. Now, back when Necromancer Games first started out doing like the open gaming license, and they had the 3.0 stuff, they had a free adventure you could download called The Wizard's Amulet. And they've gone ahead and taken that Wizard's Amulet and they've made it a free download for several different settings. I think even they've done it now for 5th edition D&D as well, if I remember correctly. But you can go to their website at Frog God Games and you can just download it for nothing. They also have other stuff that's really cool and really helpful there that you can download as well. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. But what it was is the Wizard's Amulet kind of gave a really good beginning to an adventure, and then it and then the Crucible of Freya was like expounded upon that Wizard's Amulet portion, and then it took that area, the Stoneheart Valley, which is what this is, and it put in this awesome low-level adventure, the Tomb of Abyssthor, that took players from around 2nd, 3rd level, and it would get them to about 6th or 7th, and it was this very, very good, not only was it a very good dungeon that they had, but also had an awesome wilderness area around it that you could explore and discover. And I ran a campaign back in old 3.0 D&D days that our group had a blast with. It was actually what we did. We ran through those 3 areas, and before I sent them to Rapana Thuk, which eventually killed off the party. But regardless, this is the newest incarnation of the Stoneheart Valley. They've taken a lot of the wilderness areas that they expanded upon in successive editions, if you will, and they put it all in this fairly decent sized book. So it's like a campaign setting as well as being an adventure. So I'm going to show you just some pages out of the book, and then we're going to come back here and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about the adventure itself. I'm not going to give out any spoilers or anything like that, but I am going to talk about how the 3 adventures kind of hook together really well, and how the story kind of lends itself to kind of jettisoning or pushing and propelling your characters into greatness, and then getting them to go on to bigger and more deadlier dungeons, or more powerful adversaries, or just greater rewards, greater ultimate goals, if you will, that your party will probably have. And so if you're a PC or a DM, hopefully you'll be able to figure out if this is something you'd want to play or go through or run or what have you. So let me just show you a few pages inside the book, just so you can see what you're looking at, and then we'll come back here and we'll talk a little bit more about the Stoneheart Valley. Alright, cool. Alright, this is the Stoneheart Valley book. As you can see, they have the Necromancer Games logo and the Frog God Games logo down there. This is, like as I said, for Pathfinder. You can also get it for the Swords and Wizardry rule set as well. And as you can see, this is the Lost Lands. Just quickly flip over at the back. You can see that this kind of gives the whole background and what have you. If you're a Hero Lab person, you can download, purchase and get Hero Lab files for this particular product. Also, as you can see, these are the 3 old school. I actually have these. Those 3 adventures in my big milk crates that I have all my old D&D stuff in. But those are the old 3 that had the original that are contained in here. Plus, like I said, all the wilderness and everything else. And they've actually expanded and added a lot more to the game as well. So I'm just going to crack it open real quick, just so you can kind of see some stuff that's in it. You know, it's what you can expect from a Frog God or a Necromancer Games book. You are going to get the standard 2-column type. The pictures are, you know, some of all of the illustrations. I don't have any problem with any of them. The maps are extremely well done. I turned to this page purposely because as a player and a DM, I remember when I read this portion. This is like the first level of the big dungeon. When I read this particular area, and this is going to be kind of tough for you to see, and I apologize for that, but this is basically a fountain of blood. And when the players enter this area with the fountain of blood, there's this big evil rune, and there's these evil skeletons that attack. And I'm not going to go too much into this particular encounter, just basically because there's something very, very specifically awesome about this encounter, as far as basically players are. It's one of those. It's perfectly crafted because of the fact that players enter this and they think, oh, a giant fountain of blood. That's not normal. Then they get attacked by some skeletons, and they should be like 3rd or 4th level at this point. And you know, the skeleton. Okay, skeletons, no big deal, right? And at the very beginning, I'll just say this: it really is no big deal. But things definitely turn for the worse in that situation, and it is one of the most inspiring areas and in combats that your characters are probably going to be put to the test a great deal. And that's like right as they enter the dungeon. It's one of those things that happen. Just going to turn back here a little bit. There's lots of good background. There's the big giant rumor table. I love big giant rumor tables. You know, they tell you whether they're true or false, and they tie right into the skill levels and gather information and what have you. You have this. This is the DM map of the area that'll kind of say where encounters are or what have you. But the players actually get a map as well. This is something, since you get a PDF file, if you purchase the game, the book right through Frog God Games, you get a PDF. You can print this out and you can just hand this to them. Here, I'll just kind of turn it so you can actually see. You can just hand this page out and they're like, yeah, this is the map of the surrounding area. Players love maps. They love being able to see like what's around them. They can say, what are these? Oh, those are guardhouses, things like that. They love being able to add little notes and stuff like that. Wonderful thing that they added to the game like that. As I said, I've run this campaign before, and I want to show you something that really inspired me when, besides the Fountain of Blood, there's one other thing I remember. I'll tell a little story. So this is level 3, the burial chambers of this tomb that they enter. So they went down these steps, and I'm going to show you this picture here real quick. But they went down these steps, and they came down, and they had a lantern, and they're looking, and they see this figure in the distance as they come down the steps. And then they're like, oh my gosh, what is it? And they all hide or whatever. And then they show them, and it's like, wait a minute, no, it's a statue. And so then they got closer and closer, and I said, what's the statue of? And I said, well, it's a statue of a man holding a lantern. He's got his sword out, and he's wearing armor. And they said, well, what is he doing? And he's like, well, he kind of looks surprised. And he's like, oh. And so the dwarf walked up, and he's like, well, so, I mean, does it look like it was made by dwarves? And I rolled in this stone cunning or whatever, and he was like, no, but you think it's really made, it's made very well. And he's like, huh, well, I mean, like, really well? I was like, yeah, really well, Well, how well? I was like, well, you kind of look really closely, and you think you can even see, like the lines of like on his skin, or you can actually see like stubble on him. Whatever. He's like, really? That seems amazing. I said, wait a minute, let me just show you this picture. And I show him this picture, and then it dawned on them that this wasn't a statue. This was somebody that had been turned to stone. And they literally, to a person in this like 7-person party, said, okay, everybody back up the stairs. And they left. They never went back to this level again. I mean, they found a way to just totally avoid it and not go in. I found that to be wonderful, that the players actually, we play in such a world where players never like get worried, right? You know, it's like you play and we're so focused on like a Diablo style playing or must kill every single thing on the level. But here my players had finally learned and respected the dungeon enough that they knew that if they went the wrong way, they were going to get killed. So here they have, who knows what turned this guy to stone. I'm not going to tell anybody what happened there, but there, you know, it was one of those things where they discretion was the better part of valor in that situation, and they left and took off. And I just wanted to show this picture just because I love this drawing. I love the fact that there's this giant lightning breathing behir, and he's got this guy picked up and he's currently blasting him to smithereens with his lightning. I always liked that picture. So there you go. So I mean, like I said, the book is great. It's very well written. It's got great illustrations and has tons and tons of challenging encounters, and it's a great read above all else. So there you go. That is the Book of Stoneheart Valley. Let me tell you a little bit more about it here in my conclusion. All right, thanks for watching that. As I mentioned in the intro, I did run a campaign in this area and through these adventures, and to this day, there are, and I mentioned that one story I told you within when I was showing you the pages, but there were several battles that the party went through and everything like that. To this day, we still remark upon great gaming moments. There was a situation I remember where a cleric of Orcus was going to use their Death Touch ability, which had killed previous party members, was going to use it on the party druid, and the cleric, the cleric of Heronius, was ahead of that cleric in the in initiative, but they were too far away to do anything, and so he actually like threw his longsword at the cleric that was getting ready to kill the druid, and like rolled a 20. For a possible critical. First of all, you're throwing a longsword. It shouldn't work really well. Like threw and then rolled another 20 to guarantee the critical, and then of course like just totally destroyed. Like the cleric had like 5 hit points left. He ended up doing something like 27 points of damage or something, and so I ruled that like it actually flung the cleric back and stuck him to the wall and stuff like that. I mean, so we still talk about that. It was just like the perfect moment where he was just he yelled out something, for Herodias, and threw his sword, and so it had that epic moment. And so for that reason alone, I'm always going to remember this particular area, this dungeon, and what I went through, just because of that like epic moment that we went through and that excitement that we had. But regardless to all that, from a very basic standpoint, one of the things that's really, really good about this is probably one of the best adventures slash products, whatever, for newer DMs. Basically because the Wizard's Amulet like intro adventure is very small but tiny, but it also just walks the DM through each encounter, and it kind of scripts the situation for them and tells them exactly what to do. And so if you're not familiar with being able to think on the fly or create or whatever, Wizard's Amulet lets you like the whole zero depth pool where you walk in, you get no steps, you don't have to jump in, you slowly get acclimated into the whole process of running the adventure. And being that this was like one of the first things we ran when we got 3.0, it was kind of nice to have that. Not that I didn't have time or didn't have experience running adventures. I had done many prior to that, but it was very cool because it was a new rule set. It was very, very nice to kind of ease myself into it. And Crucible of Freya is a very, very good very, very fully developed adventure as well. There's several NPCs that are very well designed, and they'll become allies with the party. And there's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful enemy that is introduced with the Wizard's Amulet that your party will learn to hate and be very disgusted with and be very angry with. And then so later, they'll keep coming back, and so they'll learn to really dislike, and so you have a foe that the party can focus upon. And then of course the Tomb of Abastor is one of the best dungeon crawls that I've ever, like, as far as a purchased dungeon goes, it's one of the best dungeon crawls I've ever played. You can definitely see where the people that created Tomb of Abastor, it makes sense that they created Rapama Thuk because of the fact that it's just that same kind of thing. It isn't really so much, just a dungeon of walking into this area, opening up a door, finding something to fight, and killing it. No, there's a nice, good story behind it. There's wonderfully evil and clever traps that they run into. No run-of-the-mill encounters, really, that you find. There's this wonderfully evil drow that lives within the dungeon. This female drow that has this horrible, like, pinkish, purplish mist that surrounds her area that, like, she can see through, but the party can't. And so there's these wonderful things that keep the players on their toes. And ultimately, there is a very, very good end goal. I mean, as far as a good and righteous party or whatever. And then, when they get to the end, it's one of those things where they will. I don't want to give anything away too much, but if they succeed, there are some very permanent rewards that the players will receive, and and it'll propel them into a kind of a realm of having some renown and notoriety as being heroes of the realm. So the only thing I can say about this that I'm a little bit disappointed is that this is in the Lost Lands setting, and the Lost Lands setting is slowly but surely getting developed and this is like the area that Bill Webb, the Grand High Poobah at Frog God Games, this is his campaign setting that he has played in for decades, and they're talking about eventually at some point actually working on and creating the Lost Lands campaign world and having a big giant map and like putting the Stoneheart Valley in there along with the other things like Rapana Thuk and the Slumberg Czar and the Sword of Air and all these publications that are based in the Lost Lands. They will be in that particular world, and I look forward to that. I have my own homebred campaign world that I've had for years, and I like that. But I do like campaign worlds. I like that, and so as marvelous as this is, I want more, and so, but that's neither here nor there. Now that doesn't mean that you couldn't, you couldn't. Take these dungeons and take these world and just plop them down in your own campaign world as well. You can easily do that, and that shouldn't make you shy away by any means. So, if you are looking for a wonderful, if you're getting basically what this is if you are a long-term role player and you've had a campaign end and you need to start up a new one, this is a great one to start with. If you're looking at buying your favorite DM a world so that they can start running a campaign, this is a great one to do. If you're just looking for great ideas and ideas or just want a good read, I love reading dungeons. I just love reading dungeon books. Then this is also an excellent thing as well. So for all those reasons, I recommend Stoneheart Valley. I think you can pick it up. You can pick it up online in some places, but I know you can get it directly through the Frog God Games website, which is where I got my copy. So, all right. Well, there you go. If you have any questions about this or any other RPGs or anything at all, by all means, just ask away. I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And as always, until next time, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right. Bye-bye.